I didn't need this wild overbooking in a match between Riho and Chris Statlander, which is a great match. I didn't need this finish. I get it. It's the Nightmare Collective women versus the faces, the women, but like, that ruined the match for me. I'm not saying Brandy Rhodes is creeping into Stephanie McMahon territory. She's not there yet. It'll take her a very long time to get there, but nobody wants to see her get over on the talent if she's not an active wrestler. If you want to have Awesome Kong get over on the talent, that's fine. But I just need the segments they're fine if they're kept short. Like I said, don't take away from the other matches and the other talent to get these things over that just aren't working, Joe.
So yeah, there's a couple things for me specifically about this. So yeah, agreed on all your points about the match itself, right? That match with no interference probably would have been very good, but there was way too much interference in that at that point, right? I don't even necessarily know or have a good feel for where it's going. So I don't know if this is leading towards Riho and Awesome Kong having a match. I'm just not even really sure if that's the end game for this, because of course now they've interrupted this match with Chris Statlander and cost her a shot because she turned them down. So I don't know where it's all supposed to go. And I guess the other thing is they just have not, and this is going to spill into the other angle too a little bit, but they just have not explained much about who some of these folks are, right? So I know who Awesome Kong is. I think many wrestling fans know who Awesome Kong is. Many wrestling fans know who Brandy Rhodes is. I couldn't tell you now who the name of the woman that shaved her head is. Would you know without looking it up? Because I don't know who she is.
Is it Serena Deeb?
No. Yeah, I don't think it's Serena Deeb. So that's one of my issues. They pulled somebody. The angle was they pulled her out of the crowd, right? She volunteered to have all of her hair shaved off because Awesome Kong was going around collecting the locks of hair from different women's wrestlers that they would beat down. So that's one thing. So she interferes. She has no heat. She has no character. No one knows who she is. And then they went ahead and debuted Dr. Luther on this show.
Dr. Luther Reigns.
Dr. Luther Reigns. So, who I think I described earlier today as a cross between Mikey Whipwreck and Matt Pinfield in terms of his appearance.
That will fall on 98% deaf ears, but the 2% of people that will understand that will agree it is a legitimate 100% home run of a comparison.
So now I've watched a lot of wrestling in my lifetime. I've been watching since 1989, so we're looking at it like 30 to 31 years of pro wrestling. I never heard of Dr. Luther. I don't know who Dr. Luther is. I've never seen a Dr. Luther match. Apparently, he is from FMW fame of a deathmatch promotion from about how long ago? 20 to 30 years ago, somewhere in that range?
Joe, I'm going to take your 30 years of professional wrestling watching, and I started watching wrestling in 1990, so I'll throw on 29 to 30 years of myself. So between us, that's 60 years of professional wrestling watching. I watch the independents. I watch a lot of stuff, Joe. I myself have also never heard of Dr. Luther. However, once I heard he was a quote-unquote deathmatch legend, I did a little bit of research. I'm going to send you a match, Joe. It is from November 27th, 1992. Okay? You got me so far. So we're talking 28 years ago.
Okay.
From the FMW World of FMW Volume 4. You're going to love this. Dr. Hannibal and Dr. Luther versus the Gladiator, also known as
I don't know. The Patriot.
Oh, Mike Awesome.
Okay.
And Horace Boulder.
All right, Hulk Hogan's nephew.
Hulk Hogan's nephew and Mike Awesome versus Dr. Luther and Dr. Hannibal from 1992 in FMW. This is the only full-length match that was on YouTube. Apparently, he is best friends with Chris Jericho.
Yeah, that's what I found out today as well. So, nepotism at its best, my friend.
What are we doing? What, Joe? What are we doing?
It's a tough one. That's a tough one. So I think, and I guess this kind of goes to when people complain, and myself included, right? So this isn't about other people. This is an example of something that I would complain about on Raw or SmackDown is people being pushed that the fans don't want to see pushed. Whether that was Shane McMahon being on TV endlessly last year, Baron Corbin being pushed over and over and over again, even though the fans reject it. So one of the things that I look for out of AEW is avoiding situations like that. Now, I don't know what the appropriate amount of time is to give for an angle or an individual wrestler in terms of how long you stick with it until you decide it's not working.
Let me ask you that, Joe. What do you think is a fair amount of time? I think that's a great question.
I think you got to give it like a month. And then if you're at a point where it's going on for like 4 or 5 weeks and people are just not into it, you either need to go a different direction or you need to just take them off TV and figure it out. And they kind of did that with the Dark Order a little bit because they brought them out like right away. People weren't digging the act, right? They took them off for a little while. They did those vignettes or promo segments where they were trying to recruit people for the Dark Order. They gave you a little bit of back history. And I was like, okay, this I can see now some backstory. I can understand what's going on. And then they brought them back on TV and did the same stuff with the creepers and all that garbage. And they beat up the Young Bucks in a main event segment or something one week, and it just went right back down the tubes. So I guess that's what I would think. So this whole Nightmare Collective thing, they need to either figure out where they're going with it, or they need to get these guys off TV and come up with a plan on how to make it more interesting for the live audience and the TV audience.
Yeah, I also while we're going to talk about some of the good stuff that happened last night too, right?
I mean, we can. Yeah, I guess we can do that too. Yeah, sure.
Can I poop on another segment though?
You can poop on anything. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, the whole DDP thing. What? The man walked out to a monstrous pop, and not for nothing. Did you watch him get in the ring? He's like a 21-year-old, college athlete. The guy's in insane shape. Like, he looks great. Dude, what the hell was with like the first 8 minutes of him? Like putting over AEW, putting over DDP Yoga, putting over TNT, talking about people smoking crack. What are you talking about? I know AEW does not script their promos, and I'm cool with that, but give DDP bullet points because I don't want to hear DDP with a live microphone trying to go into business for himself again. The whole MJF thing with DDP fell on deaf ears. The Diamond Cutter stuff, it was cool for a pop here, like when he came out with Cody. I don't need DDP diamond cutting the Butcher and the Blade, Joe. I don't need 61-year-old DDP, although who, to be fair, can probably move like if you put who would you compare DDP to now? Like I would probably rather watch DDP work a match than Triple H, if we're going to be fair. I would rather watch DDP work a match than The Big Show. Oh, speaking of. But don't bury the Butcher and the Blade for DDP. What are you doing? The Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny, like, they did a better job, I think, of introducing them as a team than they have some of the other people, like you mentioned. They have a great look. They're a good team. They do good stuff. Don't job them out to 61-year-old Diamond Dallas Page. Dude, what are you doing, Joe? What are we doing?
I don't know, man. Yeah, I think one of the other things I guess they have to figure out, too, is they have 2 hours of TV time every week, and they record about an hour of AEW Dark every week. I also kind of feel like they have a lot of wrestlers, probably more than they need. So I don't know how you figure, if you're them, right? If you're them as a company, you have to find time for most of these talents. Maybe not all of them if there's some that are, people that you're trying to develop and get ready for TV. But you have to find time for all these tag teams, let's say, for example. And it's hard, and then there's other things I guess I don't want to complain about AEW too much because that's not really the type of people that we are. But
no. But we want to be fair because I don't mean to cut you off, but like we're holding AEW to a standard that they should be held to. I think that's fair. I don't think it's being negative.
Yeah, I get and I enjoyed some of the other matches on the show last night, and one of those was Cody and Dustin Rhodes against the Lucha Brothers. Why are the Lucha Brothers losing so many matches in AEW? I feel like they should be the tag champions, next in line for a tag title shot, if anything else. And they lost to Cody and Dustin Rhodes. I don't know why.
You have 1,000 other tag teams that could be pinned by Dustin Rhodes, Joe. To your point, I like. All right. We've been negative. Let me get to some of the positive things. Is that fair?
I guess so.
The Arn Anderson stuff, I like it. And it's not giving – you gave him as a manager and advisor to Cody and Dustin. It's making an impact and it's telling a story in the matches. That, to me, makes sense. I like what they're doing there because it's a reason for Arn to be there and it gives him a purpose. To your point, you couldn't beat, I don't know, one of the other 700 tag teams you got? You got to beat the Lucha Bros? Should Dustin really be pinning Pentagon or Phoenix, Joe?
See, no one likes that angle. So, yeah, I don't think is good. But so it's just things like that. I mean, they do have so much talent, and I understand that you need depth because things can happen. Guys can have injuries, acts can cool off, whatever it might be. So you have to have depth, and it's good. But there were other choices, I think, there to do, and I would not have had the Lucha Brothers take a loss there. But some of the other stuff on the show was good. They do have their solid matches, and the closing angle with Jericho and Moxley was good because at least we got a definitive direction now. Even though I think everybody knew it was heading that way towards Jericho and Moxley at their next pay-per-view in February, most likely.
Yeah, you're building a good challenger for the AEW title. I think he's the right guy to take the. I think he's the right guy to take the AEW title. There's a barrage of canines coming down the stairs, Joe. Just so you know.
I think as soon as you mentioned the Butcher and the Blade, they woke up. Their ears perked up. They like the bunny. They're big fans of the bunny. I think is what. They like chasing bunnies. That's
everything about bunnies. They're in
the whole thing.
There's a lot of intriguing and interesting storylines. Private Party, I think, is better. They're getting better. I really enjoyed the Private Party versus Hangman and Kenny Omega match. What they're doing with Hangman Page is making him feel special. He's not just another guy in the Elite now. He's a guy with kind of a chip on his shoulder. He's going to go his own way. He's going to be the cowboy. He's probably going to turn, he'll turn heel at some point, but that'll give him a different direction. You have Kenny Omega embroiled in a storyline with Pac. I love what they're doing there. You're just giving guys chances to shine in good wrestling matches. The 6-man tag I thought was very good. It was the Best Friends versus a Luchasaurus Jurassic Park Express. Some stuff there. Marco, the fans love him, man, and Jim Cornette hates him. But Jim Cornette also hates anything that's not white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant. The Luchasaurus, I feel like, is going to be a very, very big part of AEW going forward. That dude is over. He looks like $1 million. No Soldier podcast. Looks like $1 million. He's good in the ring. He's athletic. So there was a lot of good last night, but I think this might sound crazy, but I think it's important for AEW to have bad shows. I think having bad shows, because let's not, if the fans react and they throw up on something, the fans hate something, Cody and the Bucks are a lot more likely to listen to that than Vince McMahon or Triple H will. Vince McMahon and Triple H are going to shove that down your throat until you're tired of it. Cody and the Bucks, they're they're more in tune with the public. So I think